the enigmatic allure of the avoidant soul. It's like trying to catch mercury with your bare hands. Therein lies the heart of our exploration today. What makes avoidants stay and what pushes them away? Picture this, if you will, the dance of a butterfly, flitting tantalizingly close, yet never quite landing. It is a dance that is as frustrating as it is captivating, and therein lies the curious nature of the avoidant. Imagine, if you will, a grand old oak tree, its roots deep and tangled, yet its branches reaching out to the sky, yearning for freedom. The avoidant individual is much like this tree, rooted in a deep need for connection, yet ever wary of the chains that might bind them. This paradoxical existence is what makes them both fascinating and confounding. And so, we embark on this exploration, weaving through stories and insights with the wisdom and wit of a seasoned raconteur. Let me paint you a picture of a man named Charles. Charles is the sort who values his independence above all else. He is the quintessential avoidant, if ever there was one. To those who know him, Charles is like a mysterious novel, full of hidden chapters. He has his quirks, you see, his love for solitude, his penchant for long walks alone, his tendency to disappear into his own world, like a cloud passing over the sun. Charles once met a woman named Emma, whose presence was as warm and inviting as a sunlit room. She was drawn to his enigmatic nature, his quiet strength. Emma, unlike Charles, was an open book, her heart laid bare for all to see. She believed in the power of connection, the beauty of vulnerability. Yet Charles was a puzzle she could not quite solve. The early days of their relationship were a dance of sorts. Emma reached out with her warmth, and Charles would waltz closer, then step back, like the tide ebbing and flowing. The uncertainty was intoxicating, like a heady wine, and Emma found herself drawn deeper into the mystery of Charles's world. But here lies the rub. What makes an avoidant like Charles stay, and what sends him fleeing into the shadows? It is a delicate balance, a complicated dance of intimacy and independence. For Charles, the idea of losing himself in someone else's orbit was akin to losing his very essence. Yet he longed for connection, for the warmth that Emma offered. Now let us delve into the intricacies of this paradox. It's not that avoidants like Charles do not desire love or companionship. On the contrary, they crave it deeply, often more than they are willing to admit. But there is a fear, a deep-seated apprehension, that intimacy will somehow lead to a loss of self, a drowning in the vast ocean of another's expectations. So, what keeps an avoidant tethered? It is the promise of understanding, the assurance that they will not be smothered or caged. Emma, wise beyond her years, learned this truth. She offered Charles space, yet remained steadfast in her presence. She understood that his retreat was not a rejection, but a moment of self-preservation. Her patience and unwavering support were the anchors that kept Charles from drifting too far into his solitary world. And what, pray tell, pushes an avoidant away? It is the fear of entrapment, the sense that their independence is under threat. When Emma, in a moment of vulnerability, expressed her own fears and needs, Charles felt the familiar pang of panic. It was as though the walls were closing in, and he was a caged bird longing for the open sky. But here is the twist, dear listener. Charles, in his solitary musings, realized that Emma's vulnerability was not a chain, but a bridge. It was an invitation, not a demand. It was this revelation that brought him back, that made him stay. He learned that love was not about losing oneself, but about finding a new part of oneself in the presence of another. In the end, what makes avoidants stay is the promise of freedom within connection, the assurance that they can be themselves without fear of judgment or confinement. What pushes them away is the threat of losing their identity, of being consumed by the relationship. As we draw to a close, let us remember that the dance of the avoidant is one of complexity and nuance. It requires patience, understanding, and a touch of wit to navigate the delicate balance of intimacy and independence. For those who dare to engage in this dance, the rewards can be profound, a deeper understanding of oneself and a connection that is both liberating and enduring. So, my dear friends, as you venture forth into the realm of relationships, take with you the wisdom of the oak tree, rooted yet reaching, independent yet connected. For in this balance lies the secret to what makes avoidants stay and what pushes them away.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.